Hi everybody, this is Allie from Okay to Be Fat. I came here today to talk to you about fat shaming, and I guess we're gonna talk about Bill Maher. I saw that, what is your name, sir? James Corden. I know who he is, but I'm bad with names, and so I was like, Jimmy Corduroy? I don't remember. And so I pulled it up on my phone to make sure I didn't get his name wrong. So here's what happened. Let me center you in the time where we are. It's September 2019. Bill Maher decided to go off on fat people because that's who he is. And James Corden came back on his show that he has to respond. And I didn't really like his response, so I thought I would make one of my own. The problem with James Corden's response is that it very much centered on ideas of like, I'm fat and I know that it's bad and I'm trying to stop. And I'm just like, man, fuck that. That's not a good fat politics answer, and it's not my answer, and it's not what I think about Bill Maher. So here's what I think about what Bill Maher did, because I watched them both. Bill Maher, basically what I think happens, and this is me extrapolating a little bit, this is a theory, but I feel like what happened is that Bill Maher got in trouble, or someone said to him, maybe you should stop making mean jokes about fat people, and he was like, I'm so mad. And then somehow through a discussion where someone was like, hey, maybe don't be a mean asshole about fat people, he like discovered that fat activism exists, or fat acceptance. Now he's like super mad about it. The video that Bill Maher made, he starts off with this framing where he's like, I know that the Democratic nominees are gonna talk about healthcare. Well, they should talk about fat people and how they're ruining all the healthcare. And it's like, all right, buddy, you're wrong. The figures and numbers about fat people and how much they cost are wrong. They're fake and they're made up. That's that. BMI has been widely discredited. The epidemiological studies that purport to show that fat people are dying sooner, or that they have more health things than thin people do, like a lot of those have been discredited or they've been questioned, and there have been epidemiological studies that don't show that show the exact opposite of that. There are epidemiological studies that show that fat people who do get illnesses actually have better outcomes than thin people do. You don't know what you're talking about, sir, to start with. And then basically from there, it's not even worth going through it all point by point because it's bullshit. Oh, one more thing actually about the healthcare stuff. This is the problem with Medicare for all, which I do believe in, and I believe we need some kind of socialized healthcare in the United States where I live. But the problem is that we have to pay attention to the details, and we have to make sure that this is not going to be implemented in a way that discriminates against disabled people or people who are considered to cost too much, because framing the life of a person as being too expensive to be alive is not ethical, and it's not right. It's not acceptable. It plays into regressives and right-wingers who want to put everything on a cost savings footing, which we do not need to do. If we decided to have there be money, we could have there be money. Health care is not gold. There's not a limited amount of it. You can make more if you want to. People get into these positions where they're like, well, we have to do this and this for cost savings. Why? I don't actually think we do have to do that. I think we spend a lot of money on our military. We certainly don't need to do that, and nobody questions it. Suddenly, you know, a fat person wants to go to the doctor, then oh, everybody has questions, right? Come on. First of all, Bill Maher, I do not accept your framing. Secondly, after that, all he does is just show pictures of headless fat people and other like dehumanizing photos of fat people, and then he just makes a bunch of mean comments. They're not jokes. I'm not gonna call them jokes, because a joke is a thing that has a structure. I write jokes, so I know how jokes work. There's a setup and a payoff. Just being like, that person is fat, Okay, so what? Why is that funny? Because if you took something about someone that wasn't stigmatized, if you're just like, oh, Allie has brown hair, like you wouldn't expect to get laughs from that because like, yeah, obviously. But somehow if comedians who are lazy say, ah, fat person, and then everyone's like, because it's easy. It is easy to get a certain kind of person to laugh just at cruelty. This is why right-wingers don't have jokes. Like, they're not good at jokes. They just laugh at things because they like being mean to people and they enjoy seeing other people in pain, but that's not the same thing as making a joke. I believe in jokes. I love jokes. I write ridiculous jokes all the time. Check out my late night Twitter. It's pretty jokey, but it's not like, oh, look at this person and then expect a bunch of people to laugh. You haven't earned that laugh. And I think the thing is, Bill Maher is mad, and he clearly was mad. Like, oh, bro, you mad? You seem mad. It was the only thing about it that was funny to me, was how mad he clearly was. Because, like, guess what, Bill? I'm still just gonna do it, and I don't care what you think. It's like, how can people be for accepting of this thing? I'm so mad! I'm just gonna keep doing the activism that I've been doing, and I don't care if Bill Maher comes out of the 1990s and yells at me. Who gives a shit? I think we're in the middle of, someone else pointed this out on Twitter, Sarah Marshall from the You're Wrong About podcast, which is good and you should listen to it. She was saying that I think we're entering a period where people don't actually want to laugh at cruelty anymore, and that this represents what is kind of a sea change for comedians and for comedy as a thing. And there's a lot of comics who are older dudes and some women who are mad about this. Because if Bill Maher can't just say that person's fat and get a joke, he might actually have to do work. He might actually have to write a joke. Oh no, we can't just make people laugh by saying mean things. Well, now what are we gonna do? I used to make people laugh by saying mean things when I was a teenager, but I grew out of it, and I think a lot of the kids today aren't even doing it as teenagers because the kids are smarter than I was when I was a kid. I think that that's what's happening. Bill Maher feels insecure about where this is all going because you get kind of a sense from these comics who are like, what do you mean I can't make fun of fat people? What am I supposed to do now? You can't make fun of the gays anymore? You can't make fun of women? Jesus, everyone's so sensitive. It's like, make fun of yourself for once. Just a thought. Maybe you don't co-opt other people's like fucking worst experiences in their lives and then be like, I'm making funny jokes that never touch me or anything having to do with me. Boring, lazy, boring and lazy, which Bill Maher is. You know, he talked about the thing and people were like, ah. So I thought I would make a comment on it where it's just like, yeah, Bill, you might have to learn how to write jokes. Or you could just go home and sit on your enormous pile of money and let someone else have a show who isn't a piece of shit. Now, that's my response. The Corden response is like, dude, you don't have to explain what you eat or how you exercise to Bill Maher. Like, come on, man. You don't owe anyone that. You don't have to tell people that. That's your business. And you don't have to apologize for your size. Also, I saw on Twitter, you've been kind of a shitty asshole about other people for other marginalizations. Maybe you could stop that too. The thing is, and this is partly why I wanted to do this, is it's not just about Bill Maher, because I'm like, is he still alive? What are we talking about? The Bill Maher has so little effect on like my life that I literally didn't even know his show was still on. And I have HBO Go, so I could watch it if I wanted to, but I don't. Jimmy Corduroy, I don't watch your show because I gotta go to bed and I think it's on really late. So I'm probably never gonna see it because I have to be in bed at like 9:30 because I have to get up really early. The thing is that people are like, oh, we're talking about fat shaming. Oh, we're talking about fat shaming. And it's just like, here's the thing. Media and thin people and other people who aren't involved in fat activism and aren't familiar with like fat politics and fat liberation. Everything isn't fat shaming. Fat shaming is a good term to have because we do need to talk about the bullying that people go through, but fat shaming is not the sum total of the ways that you can be discriminated against as a fat person. person. So it would be like in feminism, if the only way we had to talk about misogyny, like we didn't have a word for disliking feminine people or people who aren't cis men or like, you know, impacting their lives. We didn't have a word that meant that, and the word is ting, misogyny. But if we didn't have that word, and the only word that we had was slut shaming, which is a real thing that really happens, how are you supposed to talk about the wage gap if the only phrase that you have to talk about gender discrimination is slut shaming? Everything isn't slut shaming. Slut shaming is a thing. It's like a thing. But there's all of this other stuff too. That's kind of what I want to get people to realize, that like discrimination against fat people, fat stigma, fat phobia is large. Haha. It's a big thing, and it encompasses also wage discrimination and medical discrimination and interpersonal discrimination and abuse within relationships and families and the fat tax and having to pay more for everything. And there's a lot of nuances to it. And you would know that if you asked a fat activist. This is the thing that always kills me, is like Jimmy Cardboard was like, well, I guess I have to say something. You didn't though. I mean, like, I guess you can if you want to. You could contact fat activists who think about and work on the project of getting rid of fat phobia all the time. There are books, there are websites, there are videos. I almost dropped it. There are all kinds of people on Twitter. You could look it up and you could find someone that maybe you could bring onto your very popular show and have them talk about it in a more informed manner. Because the way that you talked about it, Jimmy Croutons, is that you reinforced the idea that being fat is bad and that all fat people are unhealthy. And like neither one of those things is true. And so it's like, nice try, but you didn't really get there. And so next time some ding dong like Bill Maher decides to like take a swing at fat people, contact someone who knows what they're talking about, and then they can help you get there. Give that person some exposure for their work. There's an entire group of people who would never give Bill Maher even an inch. Those are the people who should get to talk. And that's it. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe to my channel. It does things for the computer stuff, and it makes me happy when people do. Leave me comments. Let me know what you think. This is Allie from Okay to Be Fat. I'll see you later. Bye. Eat my fat ass, Bill Maher. That's what I have to say.